Hi, I'm Shawn Wilson, candidate for governor for the great state of Louisiana. A native of New Orleans, a resident of Lafayette, and a 25-year public servant here in the state of Louisiana. I've served in executive administrations of Republican and Democratic administrations, spending all 25 of those years leading with transparency, integrity, and accomplishment. Looking forward to serve and talk to you today about my candidacy. I am Shawn Wilson. Visit us at wilsonforla.com. I'm uniquely qualified, I think, to be governor of the great state of Louisiana because of the history I've had. I possess an undergraduate degree in urban and regional planning, a master's degree in public administration, and a PhD from the Southern University in Baton Rouge. Not only am I academically prepared, but I've had a lifelong experience with leadership and engagement with the public. You're looking at someone who served as student council vice president in elementary school. Matriculating into high school, I became student council president there. And then I also served as student government president at the University of Southwestern Louisiana. And then I actually had the opportunity to serve as a board member for the Board of Trustees governing all of the universities in our state that are not LSU or Southern schools. I spent my time as an executive in state government after serving in my first job, which was the city planning office in Lafayette, Louisiana. While I'm from New Orleans, I've spent most of my time in Lafayette, and I've worked in Baton Rouge for those last 25 years. Working at the Louisiana Serve Commission here in Shreveport, one of the projects that we were so very proud of was the Shreveport Green Shreveport project. It's an amazing environmental sustainability and responsibility program working with young people with Shreveport Green. Very proud of what we've been able to do. And Shreveport actually became an all-American city, so my relationship with this community goes way back. The last 17 years I was in the Department of Transportation, and the last 7 as secretary, with unprecedented natural disasters, an opportunity to exert leadership and responsibility, whether it's the ice storms that brought snowmageddon, if you will, to Shreveport, or floods and hurricanes, all kinds of natural disasters, even as we deal with fires burning. I've been on the ground working with people and families, and I've delivered in a way that helps sustain them. I'm going to be a governor that's going to focus on 4 things. It's going to make us safer as a state. My leadership will make us smarter as a state. It's also going to work to make us healthier as a state and wealthier as a state. Those are the 4 things that we should be focused on. And that is what my experience, that is what my preparation, and that is what my record of accomplishment has been able to bring to the state of Louisiana. As Secretary of Transportation, we've awarded over 2,000 projects, 7,000 miles worth $5.5 billion. Of significant note, I-49 North from 220 to the state line, completed under my term. The Barksdale Interchange, completed under my term and started under my term. And then before I retired, we were on the cusp of awarding the Jimmy Davis Bridge, a project that has been in the works for decades. Again, that is what leadership is. We didn't create new priorities. We actually did the priorities that the people of Louisiana told us they wanted us to do, working in a bipartisan fashion. Those are the things that make me qualified to be governor. The experiences I've had, the commitment I had, no other candidate is going to meet us at that level. Compare my record and my accomplishment, and you'll see a difference between me and the rest of the field. The question you posed was very appropriate because it spoke to the history of our state and the fact that these statistics, where we're on the top of the bad list and on the bottom of the good list, they're generational in many respects. They have been around much longer than most of us who've been in government, unfortunately. And so I recognize that these changes are not going to happen overnight. What I will do as governor is I will focus on sustainable solutions to build on the success that you've seen over the last 8 years, to do things that are going to cause people to stay in Louisiana. In spite of the brain drain that we've talked about for the last 15 to 20 years, we still have 4.3, 4.4 million people here in Louisiana, and we've got to focus on them first. We've got to make sure that they're safe, that they're educated, that they have the health systems and the infrastructure that they need so that they can achieve the economic independence that we talk about in our state. That's going to cause people to reconsider leaving Louisiana. I also know that people leave Louisiana not for the food, not for the fun, certainly not for the football. They leave for the wages. They leave for the opportunities. I'm tired of seeing the hemorrhage in our university system where our best and our brightest have to go elsewhere to get a job that they were trained to do here. We've got to make investments. We've got to find ways to create more small business opportunities for people to be in Louisiana. But it's going to start with the fundamentals. Things like infrastructure, what we focused on for the last 7.5 years, actually building an environment and an economy that you can grow and achieve the lifestyle that you need. Maintaining Medicaid expansion, creating a business climate with taxes and services such that you can simplify it, making things transparent, making things predictable. Those are the things that you can do to cause people and businesses to come to Louisiana. We noticed that Schlumberger has now placed itself here in this community for the next 7+ years, hopefully the next 27, 37 years. That's because you've got an amazing infrastructure system with an amazing workforce, and we need to be prepared to grow that. We need to invest in the future with enterprise opportunities, with apprenticeship opportunities, with investment opportunities for citizens and businesses alike, large and small. Building on these stalwarts that we have, building on the building blocks that we've worked on for the last 8 years is going to make it work. But you need sustainable leadership to make it happen. Let's stop focusing on things that are going to separate us and start to bring things that are going to bring us together to the forefront. And when we do that, folks will want to be here. Remember, we've got the food, we've got the fun, we've got the football. We also have a joie de vivre, a quality of life like no other. That's going to be what makes us unique. Our fishing, our fun, you name it. It's a wonderful place to be, but it's going to require leadership. And that's what I offer as governor, to bring the kind of bipartisan, productive, collaborative leadership that really makes a difference. Focusing on what matters. Building an economy. It's going to start with making our communities safe, making it healthy, having a trained workforce, and building the elements to build on our economy. No one knows more about our infrastructure system and delivering it, because I've done it for the last 7.5 years when we had no resources. In spite of our value of our gas tax being reduced by more than half, we were able to find unprecedented investment at the federal level and at the state level using innovation and creativity, not just in terms of financing, but in project delivery. Go back and look at the big accomplishments we've done. There's no part of our community that's been void of a construction zone. Finishing I-49 North happened under my watch. Barksdale happened under my watch. Go look at Jimmy Davis Bridge under my watch. But more than that, we've worked to maintain 7,000 miles of roads that we've already built. Before I left my position as secretary, we dedicated $300 million to local bridges. Here's what it's going to take to go forward. We didn't get this way overnight. They were allowed to get this way. So is our system perfect? No system is perfect. It's a challenge. It's an ongoing battle, and we have to be sustainable. For the first time in 34, 35 years, the state is putting new investment in infrastructure this calendar year, and next year it increases. What you get with a Wilson for governor is you get someone who's going to double down on those types of investments, make the right types of decisions for our institutions of infrastructure, but also for the system itself. If we don't take care of what we have right now, we shouldn't be building anything new. We've got to focus on widening and improving the pavement conditions on I-20. We've got to focus on completing the I-49 connector. And that comes with an investment of resources that we were successful at passing with the vehicle sales tax dedication, that we now have $40 million a year dedicated just to I-49 North. You know what that means? That means you've got a revenue stream that can deliver that project. It may take a little longer, But we have to take care of what we have first, but there's a way to do it, and it's with innovation, it's with a commitment, and it's doing phased construction. Those are things that I've done for a living. No secretary in the history of this state that I can find has been able to deliver as much as we have in a way that's worked with small and emerging businesses as well as major businesses in our state. That's how you create wealth and economy and a job. That's how you create business climates that people will work, and that is the type of investments that we will see. So it's going to take committed leadership. At the end of the day, we can't drink champagne on a Kool-Aid budget, and we've struggled with that for far too long when it comes to infrastructure. That is the driving force of our economy, whether it's with the ports, rail, passenger rail, transit, pipelines, roads and bridges, you name it. Those are the elements of an infrastructure system that I have experience delivering. And no other candidate has that. In fact, other candidates have worked to stop that progress. Go look at the challenges of using Garvey bonds for the first time, which paid for the Barksdale interchange. And that project is going to be paid for in the next 5 or 7 years, and then you can refinance that project to do more big projects. That's where innovation comes from. Study my record and you'll be impressed, I promise you. The question about taxes are really important, and we have to understand that we have a system that we've inherited that ties taxes to deliverables in government. Certainly we can make our sales tax collection much more streamlined, much more efficient by having a uniform portal so that a construction company that has to do work in 13 parishes doesn't have to pay taxes in 13 parishes. Let's reduce the audit chain. Let's make it more efficient. Let's do what businesses do. Let's do what you do with your own budget in your home. We can make those kind of simple adjustments. When I also look at things like personal income tax, I'm very happy and willing to have a discussion around what taxes we reduce in our system, and the legislature has done some good things to lower those rates as we see revenue come through the door. Here's my commitment to the people of Louisiana. What we will not do is we will not eliminate taxes without understanding what services will have to be eliminated or impacted at the same time. Unfortunately, our Constitution protects everything except public safety, health care, and education, the 3 most important things to our business climate, to our quality of life. And if we reduce the revenue that we get, guess where that impact is going to go? Public safety, healthcare, and education. And those are things I'm not going to compromise on, because those are the building blocks of what makes a strong economy. Having an ability to communicate with the communities that are paying those taxes, understanding the impact of them, is the smart answer and the smart thing to do. We can work together to resolve these issues, but it's got to be a fair and balanced conversation that I'm willing to lead and hold with the entire state of Louisiana. And with regards to the 0.45, clearly it was a temporary sales tax because the previous administration left us with a $2 billion deficit. We are now in a position to invest and build in our state. I'm not in favor of building government, but I am in favor of building an economy. Investing in public safety, investing in higher education, investing in early education, paying teachers and public employees and policemen and firemen what they're worth for the work that they do to protect us. Let's take that 0.45 and make meaningful investments, because if we reduce it, we're still going to have those needs that need to be met. We're still going to have challenges with infrastructure. We're still going to have challenges with how do you pay for coastal protection and restoration? How do you pay for broadband and other match opportunities that we have at the federal level? Those are things that we have to be smart. Now's not the time to retreat back to what we saw in those Jindal years where our economy was tanking and people were leaving and we were cannibalizing our government. Let's take those resources and build in a smart, meaningful way. That's how you grow this economy. That's where you grow and educate your workforce. That's where you maintain and build your healthcare system and your roads and your bridges and your pipelines. That is how you build this state. As a kid, I remember going to Miss Nursery's day school, Miss Smith's day school. That was an opportunity for me from 2 years old to 4 years old to get a building block of my education so I could go to Ms. DeSalle's kindergarten class. That is where I learned the fundamentals. We understand through science that 0 to 4 is where the brain develops, where the lights come on, and where the enthusiasm and the energy for learning is created. It's important that we make those investments, and I was extremely disappointed that the legislature failed to make the sizable investment that we know was needed. When our budget allowed us to go to $60 million, we went to $40 million, which means 500 young people aren't going to get the resources they need. That's not how you build a better education system. You need to prepare our children, those who are needing it the most, to be prepared to learn and invest in them now so that K-12, they're better prepared to learn. As governor, I will make that a priority. I will use the resources and the power of the veto pen and the budget authority to make those types of investments. Not only because it's good for the children, it's also good for the economy. Think about what that would mean when we have daycares and early childhood schools all over the state of Louisiana that are certified and accredited for being early childhood learning centers. Think about what that's going to mean for our behavior. Think about what it means for our preparation and our competition. And more importantly, other states are making these investments. If we want to keep up, we've got to catch up. And the first way to do that is to make those investments. And that is what I'm going to lead as secretary. As governor. My wife's an educator. She's been an early educator for her life. She has a degree in early childhood education. And we see the value of what that is, and we see the impact of not having it. You can see in the eyes of a kid when they show up on day one if they're ready, if they've got their phonics, if they can read their name, if they know their colors and their alphabets. Those are the keys to success. And when that success is there, great things can happen, because all politics are local, but all education is local as well. It's the difference between a teacher and a child. That's where the magic happens. It happens in the classroom. I'm committed to making sure our children are prepared to start day one in that classroom and hold them accountable through the K-12 effort. Let's not wait until the third grade to hold them accountable. Let's make the investments today in first grade and second grade so that the third graders that will be held back in 2025 will be as small of a population as possible. That's how you build a sustainable education system. The future of Louisiana is going to be in the strength of its workforce. We understand that we have the lowest unemployment in the history of the state of Louisiana. There's a gap, however, in terms of the jobs that are available and the skill set that we have in the workforce that's available. Now is the time for us to look at our elementary and secondary programs to invest again in the trades. I remember going to shop in auto mechanic and industrial technology. Those are the types of skills that can benefit the market of tomorrow. Let's make those sizable investments. Let's look at early interventions. Let's look at apprenticeships. Let's look at the opportunity to be prepared for the workforce that's coming down the pipe, not what we've looked at in the rearview mirror. We also know that we have to take the existing workforce and retrain them, which is why you have to invest in certification programs and non-degree seeking programs, and work at the local level with our community and technical college system, because those regional opportunities are going to be where the magic happens. Here in Shreveport, look at cybersecurity. We may not have the ability to build a 4 or 5 year academic program, but we can do certification programs so that we can build on what's already burgeoning in this market. Let's take folks who are in this workforce today and retrain them. That's going to do two things. One, it'll create a new space in the position where they're coming from, but it'll also solidify ourselves as a leader in that new market. Here in the state of Louisiana, we have been successful at LED at having fast start and other types of programs. Now is the time for us to revamp those, scale them up to be more competitive for the next 100 years, as opposed to just relying on the laurels of a program that was always recognized. Let's be prepared for new technology, for this new green energy opportunity. Let's go and look at what's out there, not to sacrifice the existing services, but to leverage them, expand the scale, investing in jobs jobs for tomorrow is the way to go. It has to start in elementary and secondary school. It's not for everyone to go to college. Let's give them the resources. Let's double down on making sure that the technology that we need in our agricultural market for a rural state that we are is there, and that young people are pursuing those. And last but not least, let's make the capital available for them to start their business, to hire their neighbors and their friends and their cousins and their brothers to come into the workforce with them and to convince others to go and get trained. That is how you build an economy. That is where you grow this state. That's where you create new jobs and you build tax-paying citizens to build the state that we deserve. As Secretary, I would tell people the fundamentals of economic development are transportation infrastructure. Those are the things that we are unmatched with. Look at the 5 Class 1 railroads. Look at the major port system that we have here in the state of Louisiana. Look at the major rivers sitting at the Gulf. Look at the workforce to support the oil and gas industry that we know is going to be here for another 100 years. This is an opportunity for us to grow the jobs for welders and pipe fitters and other manufacturing opportunities, not just on the coast, but all across the state of Louisiana, because we have a multimodal transportation system. You can take a windmill, you can take the 50,000 miles of pipeline and rehab them. You have the ability to invest in Louisiana. And when you see what we're doing with broadband, more to the fact that we have to diversify our economy and grow them all to scale. So in order for us to take advantage of that, we've got to make sure that the Mississippi River stays dredged to 50 feet. And by the way, that's something we've talked about for 30 years. It happened under my watch as Secretary for the Department of Transportation and Development. Go look at the Port Priority Program that doubled on day 1 of my tenure and continued to be doubled for the entire 7 years, the first time in the history of Louisiana, producing an additional $150 million for ports. Go look at the infrastructure that we've supported our ports with, the $480 million infrastructure project leading to Port Fourchon that services the oil and gas industry. But guess what? It's also going to service the wind industry. It's also going to work in the hydrogen space. We have to be thoughtful about what our natural assets are. And those are the things that I managed and work with as Secretary, and no one is going to understand better than I how to leverage those resources, whether it's the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act, working in public-private partnerships, working from a research perspective with universities all across the state of Louisiana to understand what carbon sequestration opportunities exist and how do you transition that into a new workforce. Looking at the electrification of our economy. Those are things that we can leverage, not just in certain parts of Louisiana, but that's how you grow and thrive in rural areas as well, because you've got land, you've got space, and you've got a network to get people to and from. Those are the types of things that we strategically worked on when I was Secretary. Those are the things I'm going to work on as governor. I'm going to travel, we're going to work with LED, we're going to recruit businesses here, and we're going to make the kinds of meaningful investments with return for the state of Louisiana, not just exemptions that are going to go back to big business. Those are the things that we have practiced and that we have perfected and that we will replicate in a Wilson administration. You know, a constitutional convention is an audacious undertaking, and I am not one to tell you that we absolutely have to do that today. But I will tell you, if we were to pursue this, there'd have to be a framework that represents all of the state of Louisiana and not necessarily just the healed lobbyist sector, not just big business. Where are the teachers? Where are the small business owners? Where are the homeowners and the parents? Where are the little guys in that conversation? We have jockeyed with our Constitution for decades. We've made more changes. Every year we're finding ourselves having battles in the legislature to amend the Constitution without necessarily the long-term implication and understanding of what those changes mean. And so as a governor, I want us to understand and appreciate what changes can we do within the scope of legislation. What can we do with policy before we continue to tweak the Constitution further, because all we're doing is tweaking the tweak of the tweak that we made last time. That's not going to get us progress. So I am not prepared today to tell you that we're going to pursue a constitutional convention. If we do have one, it needs to be one that's fair and balanced and that represents all of the authorities of government, including local government. No other candidate is going to be as committed to local government as I am. Look at what my support has been for ITEP. Look at what my partnership has been with locals in disasters. Look at how we've delivered transportation infrastructure that belong to locals and not just the state, because that's the kind of collaboration that the Constitution, I believe, was intended for us to do. However, there are changes that can be made with legislation, there are changes that can be made with policy, and those are meaningful if they're thought out and they're bipartisan and they're effective in how they're written, and those are things that I'm committed to working on. Not just as governor, but as a citizen, working with chambers and economic development organizations, people who really understand those implications and help educate the others who may not have a full understanding of that. That is what civics is about, that is what public engagement is about, and that is what it has to be a part of the conversation if we're going to talk about a constitutional convention. Unlike other candidates, I don't see crime as just being only in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and New Orleans. Crime is universal. It's all across the state. This is a national trend. These are things that we have to be thoughtful about and smart. It's one thing to be tough. It's another thing to be smart on crime. Here's my commitment to the state of Louisiana. I will always partner with the entire judicial and public safety sector to be a partner and engage, and not to be a criticism for them or not to critique their work or challenge their performance. We have to make sure that we have the technology and the resources in the hands of those who are going to be on the front lines to keep us safe. We have to make sure that our state police is doing the best and highest use of their time. Should they be in casinos doing gaming? Is that not something that we can privatize? Is that something we should even be doing? I think there's a role for us there, absolutely. But in context of the crime issues that we're facing in the state of Louisiana, would you rather them be there or out in the community working with your local police department? Go back and look at the backlog that's in our judicial system. How do you fund the public defenders to be able to make sure that they get the work done? How do you deal with them after the fact? Because when you put people in jail, that doesn't make us safer. We have to maintain what we've done to be smart on what we're doing, making investments in reentry programs, making investments with juvenile offenders, making investments with how do you detain individuals at a younger age in a civilized and humane way. How do you make sure that they're going to get a skill set, an education, a job skill, a training opportunity to go get a job and be a tax-paying citizen as opposed to a tax-burdened citizen? Those are things that we have to be thoughtful about. Making investments in technology, whether it's lights, whether it's cameras, whether it's the fusion opportunity to take technology and information to triangulate data and solve crimes. That is the most influential way to, I think, stop the crime, is to let people know there are consequences for violating it or violating the law or doing a crime. Those are things that we're going to do in the Wilson administration. This will require a whole effort from all levels of government, as well as citizens in the community, the church community, our public schools, making sure that everyone is invested in our collective safety. Because when one individual is unsafe in their community or their home, the entire community is threatened, and we have to stand up for that. We have to fight for that, and we have to be smart, and we have to address these things. Juvenile assessment centers are a must. Reentry programs are a must. Finding alternative activities for young people to be involved in, as well as young adults in their neighborhoods, so that idle time is not really the devil's workshop as we were taught as kids. Those are things that we should be doing in the state of Louisiana to address public safety and crime. Last but not least, you have to address the drug problem and the opioid addiction and treat it like the crisis it absolutely is. And we have a plan for that, to address the fentanyl process to make sure that people get assistance that they need. You've addressed a number of issues that are important, not just to Shreveport, but to the entire state of Louisiana. so goes Shreveport, so goes Louisiana. And I can say that for every community because we are an entire state of 64 parishes. North, south, east, and west, urban, rural, black, white, rich, poor, regardless of where you are. You want to be safe. You want your children to be educated and trained. You want them to be healthy. And you want them to earn a living and have wealth opportunities. You want to have affordable housing. You want to be able to pay your insurance. These are things that are going to matter to you and your family and the inheritance that you're going to leave your kids. The only way we will solve these big problems is if we work together. I am so tired of the frustrated debate that we're seeing in Baton Rouge and throughout this country, unfortunately. The extreme attitudes, the extreme issues that we're dealing with that won't address any of these core issues that 80% of our people are right here in the middle. Instead of trafficking over here on the extreme where it doesn't really make a difference, it's only going to affect 10, 15, 20 people. I'm talking about affecting hundreds of thousands of people with investments in education. Help me send a negative message back to those who are trying to divide us. Let's get them straight that this is about bipartisanship, this is about working together, and this is about having outcomes and improvements that we can track and monitor those improvements to make sure that we're getting what we deserve, that you're getting the taxes, that the value for the taxes that you pay. That's what your governor should be doing. Your governor shouldn't be arguing about library books. Your government shouldn't be bullying people in what they do. Your government should be serving you. And they should be working with everyone that you send to Baton Rouge to make that happen. I'm Shawn Wilson, 25 years of service of being bipartisan, working with folks all across this state. I commit to you that I will work as hard as you do, if not harder, every day, giving you the leadership that you deserve, one that you can be proud of. I'm not interested in social media and sound bites. I'm interested in sustainable solutions. I'm interested in making a difference, not just for me and my family and my grandkids, but for you and yours as well. Those are things that are going to carry us forward. Those are the 4 things that I'm going to work on, making us safer, smarter, healthier, and wealthier. It's just that simple. And I would encourage you to vote for us. Visit us at wilsonforla.com on all of our different social media. I will tell you, look at my record, compare the others, look at the progress that we've done. You will be convinced that I am the best prepared, the most committed, the most capable, and the most concerned about you and what's in your best interest. Why settle when you can have everything that you ever wanted in a leader that's going to get it done right the first time? I'm Shawn Wilson. I want to be your governor. We'll need your help. We'll need your vote and your support. God bless you and your family. Take care.